Behind the Scene with David Bedein. Today's program marks a new stage in Jewish history. We now face an entity which, without any hesitancy, endorses mass murder of Jews. The Nazis tried to cover it up. They are covering nothing up. The murders that took place on October 7th, 2023, is something that will live in a shall I say, a day of infamy for the Jews, but a day of pride for the Arabs. The Palestinian Arab community is in a state of joy over what happened. Not one Palestinian Arab leader will condemn it, and most important, Mahmoud Abbas, the darling prime minister, the darling president, the darling head of the Palestine Authority, even though it was reported that he condemned it, never condemned it. On that basis, he was invited to meet the president of the United States and every other major diplomat. Now, we'll see what happened if we go back a little bit in terms of our work. We're a small agency. We've covered a lot in 37 years. One of the things we covered was the PLO power sharing arrangement with Hamas. I wrote about it in the Philadelphia Inquirer back in 1996. In August 1996, how they basically divided up the spoils. The PLO would take care of the administration, and the Hamas would take care of the education. A power sharing arrangement. There is no such thing as an independent entity of Hamas making a decision on its own. It does everything under the aegis and under the orders of the Palestine Authority, which reports to the Palestine Liberation Organization, which reports to the Arab League, the League of Arab Nations. When the attack took place, it was with the knowledge and the consent of Mahmoud Abbas. 135 nations support the PLO. We don't see any of them saying that what you did on October 7th was unconscionable. Well, we had a few saying that, well, it wasn't right, this kind of thing, we'll go meet you. Not one cut off humanitarian supplies, not one stopped the education system. And as I've shown you before, those of you who've been in my office, those of you who've seen this program, I've shown you before a school book, a new school book in the Palestinian Authority, a renewed school book, which a murderer is featured, Dalal al-Mughrabi, who murdered 36 Jews. She's the star of Authority education. We're talking, and by the way, if anyone wants to get a copy from me, write to me, I'll send you a copy. I'll send you the original copy, and which says on the back of it, 2023. Now, this was shown to the Swedish ambassador to Israel, Eric Udenberg, and he said it was a lie, that we had made it up. This didn't happen. This guy, Eric Udenberg, will be brought to justice, whether in Sweden or here in Israel, because this is someone who knew that the Palestinian Arab children in their school system are being taught to revere and honor someone who murders Jews, and he said it was a lie. We also showed him the films, which we're going to show you again now, after this program, of the children going through military training from Islamic Jihad and Hamas. And he said that was also a lie. Well, some things are true. I don't care if he's Jewish, not Jewish. I spoke to him once. He sounded very friendly. This is a guy who has to pay for it. Now, there's 33 relief agencies that give money to UNRWA. UNRWA gives 58% of its budget to education. The education is completely controlled by Hamas education, and they have to pay a price for this, because what we have here, what we predicted over a period of 37 years, was that this would culminate in a mass murder campaign, and that is what happened. What happened on October 7th and has continued since is a murder campaign sanctioned by all the nations of the world that helped the PLO. This is not an issue of Gaza. This is not an issue of a terrorist agency known as Hamas. This is the Palestine Liberation Organization, which has never changed its covenant. The covenant of the PLO, which was supposed to change with the Oslo process, never changed. The covenant, also known as the Charter, is a very clear message that they have a right to kill Jews and wipe the Jews out of the land of Israel, which they call Palestine. Not a matter of two-state solution. They have one state. As a matter of fact, the best thing is to say it's a two-stage solution. which is how they frame it. Now, it's been a funny joke over the years. Do they really accept Israel, not accept Israel? But of course, they do a lot of business with Israel, as if doing business is what's going to solve it. Eric Udenberg, you're going to pay a price. You're going to pay a price. What you've done here is to sanction a system encouraging murder. You will pay a price. This is not something that can be accepted. And now that we have all the evidence is in of the torture that took place of Jews in the land of Israel. A fetus removed from a pregnant woman and then shot, both of them, the fetus and the mother. We have the evidence has been presented to the press. This is what we deal with. 200 people taken captive, amongst them little kids, babies, some of them shot on the spot. This is not something that was supposed to happen in the land of Israel where the Jews are supposed to be free. Well, we Jews in Israel have backbone. We will stand up, and I've seen 5 memos come out of the American government. Oh, they're not all Hamas. Excuse me, there was an election in 2006 where Hamas was elected by the majority of the people to represent the Palestinian Authority and the PLO towards the public. Now, if they're going to be doing something and not regretting it, that's the difference between them and the Nazis. The Germans try to hide their crimes. These people do not try to hide anything. And when approached, when the Palestinian Authority was approached with what they did, they proudly admitted it. Proudly admitted what they did, murdering and kidnapping, robbing, and doing everything possible to mess up the basic rule of law, that people are supposed to live under. So understand something. There's 135 nations that are flowing money to the Palestinian Authority. They will be held accountable. The 33 relief organizations that provide money for the PA. Now, what's most important to understand, we have commissioned studies which appear on our site, and if anyone has trouble finding it, I'll gladly send it to you. Studies of accountability in the PA for humanitarian supplies. It doesn't exist. We work with a doctor, Dr. Eli Lash, who meanwhile has passed away. He was the head of civil services for the civil administration, Israel civil administration, and which controlled Judea, Samaria, Gaza for quite a while. And they would always confront UNRWA with the fact that funds are disappearing for humanitarian supplies, especially medical supplies, which wind up traded for guns, for munitions, etc. We asked a simple question. Send a letter to every major donor. Will you remove munitions and guns from the grounds of UNRWA in the 59 camps you run? And we didn't get any response except to say that it's being taken care of. Well, I'm sorry, it wasn't taken care of. And the people who rushed the fences on October 7th were coming from UNRWA, the biggest employer of Hamas in the Middle East. And again, Hamas doesn't make any bones about it that they are a terror group. And I want to say that there are many people involved with humanitarian efforts to help the Arab people, and they should be blessed for that, because they are still people when they ask for humanitarian help. And 2 nights ago I called an old friend, who I asked her how she was living in a kibbutz along the Gaza border, and she spent the last 30 years doing medical services and social services for the Arabs in Gaza. I called her, and as I looked up her, I didn't hear from her, she didn't answer, and all of a sudden I see on Wikipedia that she's been abducted. At 74 years old, she's been abducted. I don't know what her situation. Her family hasn't heard from her ever since. And the Hamas, again, we also not only, when we say Hamas, we also say the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, haven't let people know what happened to their people. So if this isn't a violation of human rights and of basic human ways of living, I don't know what is. So you'll see what they do in their summer camps. We're going to show you the Gaza child soldier, and how the PLO, working with Hamas and the Islamic Jihad, have put children on the front lines, and many of these children will die. And the Jews will be accused of what? Of war crimes for killing children who are on the front lines. The Jews didn't put them on the front lines, the Arabs did. Now, the whole myth, as if there's a peace process, has now exploded. Saudi Arabia, which was courting Israel for some kind of a peace notion, some kind of normalization, all they had to do was condemn these attacks, and there would be trust. There is no trust. There is no condemnation. There is now a new stage in Jewish history. Hopefully, there will be a great backbone that every Jew will feel to fight back. And when I see that the Hamas leader is living peaceably in London and no one bothers him, that's bothersome. At least put a picket line in front of his house. What's going on here? Again, when I wrote in August '96 for the Philadelphia Inquirer about the power sharing agreement between Arafat, who was then the head of the PLO, and Hamas, it didn't surprise a lot of people. But that's what we've been living with, and living with a lie as if there's a peace process, as if the PA are the good guys, the Hamas are the bad guys. This has all become real. We see what it's all about. And when the Swedish ambassador says that this is fake news, he's going to have to pay a price. And I hope that Swedish citizens listen to this and take him seriously and put him out of his office. We don't need this guy in Israel or in any diplomatic posting. Tomorrow, October 24th, is the anniversary, the birthday of the United Nations. The United Nations carried values, carried hope, but not the United Nations of today, which allows such a system to take place with the United Nations Relief and Works Agency, which keeps people in refugee camps. 6.4 million people in refugee camps under the premise of and promise of the right of return, while keeping them in squalid conditions. There's something wrong here. There's something very wrong. But they're going to deal with a new Jewish entity here of Jews who will have backbone, who will stand up and not let this happen anymore. Only a shock like this can wake people up. Behind the scene with David Bedein. Thank you.
One, the way children from UNRWA schools spent their summer vacation.
مخيم طلائع التحرير سيف القدس للعام 2021. الله أكبر ولله الحمد.
واحنا جيل فلسطين احنا بنعشق الشهادة.
والله احنا بنجاهد عشان القدس وعشان وطننا ونموت شهداء.
هاي جيل التحرير هان بنحرر فلسطين والقدس وكل الدول المحتلة.
جاي اتدرب عشان احارب اليهود لما اكبر وندافع عن القدس وعن فلسطين.
نتدرب ونستعد لأي حرب جاية، لأن نحن الجيل الجديد الذي يعود لأرضه وسنحرر الأقصى بإذن الله.
As the world has witnessed every year over the past decade, UNRWA students, even those who have not yet finished elementary school, are lured to participate in summer camps for armed guerrilla warfare. Allah! Allah! These children, who should expect UNRWA to provide a normal summer vacation environment, fall prey to terror groups that lurk everywhere, or are sent to these programs by their own parents. This summer, armed operatives signed up tens of thousands of UNRWA students ages 10 to 17 for summer camps offering extensive military training. Recruitment took place in mosques and at registration tables throughout the Gaza Strip.
إن صراعنا مع عدونا هو صراع على الجيل، ومن يكسب الجيل في النهاية يكسب المعركة.
ضربونا شوية نتعامل مع التيس الشرس النتنياهو ونفتالي بنات وحط القملة على البرغوث ونفتالي بنات يا ربي.
دستوركم سبيلكم سبيلكم أسمع منيكم أسمع منيكم.
At terrorist bases belonging to Hamas and Islamic Jihad, the youngsters experienced intense military discipline and systematic indoctrination with one objective in mind: to fight and die for jihad and to annihilate the Jewish state.
احنا جيل التحرير وهذه الارض إلنا، واليهود مش راح يضلوا على هذه الارض. انا بقول لهم انهم يرجعوا من حيث اتوا، اطلعوا قبل من بيتكم واحنا راح نحرر هذه الارض. اذا مات شهيد راح يجي بداله 1000 شهيد. الله اكبر الله اكبر الله اكبر.
أعد جيلا يحمل هذا السيف ليضرب به العدو.
At the summer camps, UNRWA youngsters learned to view the United States and Israel as the devil, the ultimate enemy. They trampled on the flags of both nations and set them afire.
سنعمل أن تستمر جدوى الصراع حتى يوقن بأنه لا مجال له إلا الرحيل.
جايين اليوم احنا عند مخيمات سيف القدس، اقترب الوعد حتى نبني اجسامنا واجسادنا حتى نقهر بني صهيون ونرجع على اراضينا المحتله.
كان اليهود ما لهمش قيمه هنا، يعني ما لهمش ارض. نتدرب نجاهد في سبيل الله وهذا نستشهد ان شاء الله في سبيل الله.
تكبير تكبير.
حلمي انه اطلع اني يعني اصير دكتور ومقاوم، يعني علم مع جهاد في سبيل الله، وعشان نحرر فلسطين ونطهرها من اليهود من الاحتلال الصهيوني المجرم.
مفيش حاجة اسمها دولة إسرائيل أصلاً عشان يكون لهم عاصمة قبل كل شيء. إذا القدس عاصمة فلسطين الأبدية.
They learned how to use automatic weapons of all kinds. Instructors taught them how to assemble each weapon, hold it correctly, and operate it.
أول إشي تدريب، أول إشي يعلمونا طريقة اسم السلاح وفك السلاح وكيف تنظيف. ثاني إشي طريقة حمل السلاح. ثالث إشي عندك التدريب القوي، بدك من تحت الزحف تدريب. ثالث إشي إن نحمل وكيف نطخ لقدام، نتعلم كيف نطخ ونصوب الأهداف القريبة، ونتعلم على الأسلحة بأنواعها. المدربين ما شاء الله عليهم هان بيعلموا كل أنواع الأسلحة هان.
The terrorists working as camp instructors provided them with detailed descriptions of the mortars used by Hamas and Islamic Jihad, and even of the tanks used by the Israel Defense Forces. The UNRWA youngsters practiced fighting in built-up areas, as well as commandeering a vehicle.
احنا ما بنقدر نحارب الا بالسلاح، زي ما هم بيحاربونا بالسلاح احنا حنحارب بالسلاح. هي هيك المعادله، ما بيفهموا الا بلغه السلاح.
One exercise featured a mock-up of an Israeli tank. The idea was to teach the children how to sneak up on a tank and kidnap Israeli soldiers.
عشان هيك احنا بنحارب وبنتعلم من الصغر. عشان ايش؟ عشان لما نكبر نبقى مستعدين لمقاتلة اليهود وتطردهم من البلد، لانه هذه مش بلدهم، يرجعوا على بلدهم. هذه مش بلدهم، هذه بلدنا. لما اكبر بدي استشهد واعمل عمليات مدافع عن وطني وعن ارضي، هذه فلسطين. انا والله نفسي استشهد.
حط السيف قبال السيف، واحنا رجال محمد ضيف.
نعلمهم فن القتال مع هذا العدو المغتصب الذي اغتصب أرضنا، فنحن سنعد هذا الجيل ومن أجل أن نفجر جماجم هذا العدو.
من تحت الأرض نخرج إليكم ندق الرعب في قلوبكم، ومن فوق الأرض بصواريخنا نقطعكم أشلاء.
Top commanders from Hamas and Islamic Jihad were in charge of the military training and stated clearly that the goal was for the youngsters to take part in the future battle against Israel.
الكبار أرضعوا الصغار حب الوطن وحب الجهاد وحب الاستشهاد.
The children attending the summer camps were taught about their so-called inalienable right of return to cities inside Israel, such as Jaffa, Lod, Haifa, Beersheba, Ashdod, and Ashkelon. With these cities just kilometers away, they were told that a return was literally in reach.
إن شاء الله بدنا نرجع وإن شاء الله كل كتاب القسم حيكونوا معنا لأنه هذه بلدتنا الأصلية رح نحررها غصب عنه.
أن الاحتلال الصهيوني طرد أبائنا وأجدادنا من أجلنا لنضحي في دمنا ونرجع حيفا والجاهد الجهاد.
نحن نساء الجهاد بالشهادة أرضنا.
Girls affiliated with Islamic Jihad happily recited the mantras of terror. They are an integral part of the movement, meant to show that terrorism is not a male-dominated system.
لابد لنا أن نقوم ببناء جيل قرآني واعي. لابد لنا كأمهات فلسطينيات أن نرسل أبناؤنا إلى هذه الأماكن لنزرع فيهم حب البلاد، حب فلسطين، حب الجهاد.
لابد أن كل امرأة منا تكون أم الشهيد، أخت الشهيد، يعني نزيد الوعي الثقافي عند أبنائنا حتى يجي يوم وهذه الأطفال يصير يعني مقاومة وتصير تدافع هي عن الأرض ونرجعها إلنا.
The women of Islamic Jihad bestowed the legacy of their cause on the next generation. Notably, the summer camps featured the photos of female suicide bombers who blew themselves up to murder Jews.
أنا بلدتي الأصلية بلدة يبنى، حنعود عليها بالحجر والسكينة.
هم أصلا أعداء ويهود، هم اليهود، هم طبعا قبائل تجمعت من كل دول العالم وأجهد كونوا لهم وطن كما يدعون لهم في فلسطين.
حطوا السيف في قبال السيف، حطوا السيف في قبال السيف، إحنا رجال محمد ضيف، إحنا رجال محمد ضيف.
As the summer camps drew to a close, each camper received a certificate of appreciation, complete with his photo, attesting to the completion of formal weapons training and a readiness to fight the Jews. For the UNRWA students, these photos depicted them with automatic weapons and showed them imbued with ideological motivation.
الذين يشبهون المجاهدين في أعمالهم ويتشبهون بهم وهم مجاهدون المستقبل بإذن الله.
Clearly, the Hamas and Islamic Jihad summer camps have become training grounds for the vilification of Israel. UNRWA teachers and textbooks complement this with an ideology and curriculum that promotes armed struggle for the right of return. Last May, the most recent outbreak of anti-Israel violence in Gaza exposed a tunnel dug by Hamas under a school in UNRWA's Zaytun refugee camp. Here is the evidence. Hamas thus takes the UNRWA children captive not only during the summer, but during the school year itself. UNRWA students constitute a future terror army aimed at liquidating Israel based on the illusion of a right of return. UNRWA can no longer act as if it does not know. UNRWA is proud of its 400 schools in Gaza, Judea and Samaria, and Jerusalem. It allocates 58% of its budget for an education system that indoctrinates a new generation for war. In essence, it has abandoned its students. The time has come for UNRWA to teach peace and coexistence during both the school year and summer vacation. The time has come for the world to demand oversight of UNRWA schools. The time has come for donor nations to put an end to UNRWA anarchy.
أنا اسمي ضياء أبو الديب، صف سادس، عمر 12.
يافا.
أنا اسمي حمزة بوهين من بلد برير.
اسمي قصاية عمري 13 سنة من المجدة.
أنا من بلدة حمامة اسمي خالد.
أنا اسمي آسر البيك من بلدة هربيا.
شمس يوسف ياسين من حيفا.
اسمي عاصم فرج من الشجاعية وأصلي من بئر السبع.
أنا اسمي براب سكران عمري 15 سنة، أنا أصلي من المجدان.
عبد الله 9 يافا.
محمد عبد الله سليم 13 سنة بئر السبع.
فايز عبد الكريم مصباح الداية 12 من حيفا.
أنا اسمي أسماء الجرا، أنا بلدة الأصلية بلدة تيبنا.
اسمي فداء أبو طيول، لاجئة، أصلي من بلدة سرفند العمار.